The salvage yard on Kepler Station smelled like rust and old fuel. It was the kind of place where broken things came to die. Ships that nobody wanted sat in long rows under dim yellow lights. Their hulls were cracked. Their engines were dead. Most of them would never fly again. Megan Cole walked through the yard with her hands in her pockets. She was 32 years old, with short brown hair and grease stains on her jacket that would never come out. She had been a mechanic for 14 years. She had fixed ships that other people said could not be fixed. She had brought dead engines back to life. She had a gift for machines, and she knew it. But right now, she was broke. Her last job had fallen through. The company she worked for had gone bankrupt. She had spent her savings on food and rent, and now she had exactly 63 credits to her name. That was not enough to buy a ticket off the station. It was not enough to start a new life somewhere else. It was barely enough to survive another week. So she came to the salvage yard, looking for something she could fix and sell. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot she had. The auction was small. Maybe 20 people stood in front of a raised platform where a man with a loud voice called out lot numbers. Most of the items were junk, engine parts that were too old to use, navigation systems that were too damaged to repair. A few people placed bids, but the prices stayed low. Then they brought out Lot 47. Megan saw it and stopped breathing. It was a ship, a small transport vessel, maybe 50 meters long. The hull was covered in rust and dirt. The paint had faded so much that she could not tell what color it had been. The windows were dark. The landing gear was bent. It looked like someone had dragged it through an asteroid field and then left it to rot for 100 years. But there was something about it. Something in the shape of the hull, the curve of the wings, the strange metal that gleamed under the rust. Megan had never seen anything like it before. It was not human design. It was alien. The auctioneer cleared his throat. Lot 47, Velthari-class transport, non-functional, sold as is. Opening bid is 50 credits. Nobody raised their hand. The Velthari were an old race. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. Their technology was advanced, but they were also secretive. They did not share their knowledge with other species. They kept to themselves in a distant part of the galaxy, and most humans never saw them at all. A Velthari ship at a human salvage auction was rare, very rare, but this one was in such bad condition that nobody wanted it. The technology was too different. The parts were too strange. No human mechanic would know how to fix it, except Megan. She raised her hand. 50 credits. The auctioneer looked surprised. We have 50 credits. Do I hear 60? Silence. 50 credits going once. 50 credits going twice. Sold to the woman in the back. And just like that, Megan Cole owned a spaceship. Her friend Danny Marsh helped her tow the ship to her repair bay. Danny was tall and thin, with red hair and a face that always looked worried. He had known Megan for 10 years. He had seen her do crazy things before, but this was different. You spent 50 credits on a pile of junk, he said as they secured the ship in the bay. 50 credits you cannot afford to lose. It is not junk, Megan replied. She was already walking around the hull, running her hands over the metal. It felt warm under her fingers, even though the bay was cold. It is a Velthari transport. Do you know how much these are worth when they work? But it does not work. It has not worked for decades, maybe longer. Then I will make it work. Danny shook his head. You do not know anything about Velthari technology. Nobody does. Their systems are completely different from ours. You cannot just swap out parts and hope for the best. Megan turned to look at him. There was a light in her eyes that Danny recognized. It was the same light she got whenever she found a challenge she could not resist. Watch me, she said. She worked on the ship for 3 months. Every day she woke up early and went to the repair bay. She studied the ship from top to bottom. She took apart systems she did not understand and put them back together again. She made notes. She drew diagrams. She tried 100 different things, and most of them failed. But slowly, piece by piece, she began to understand. The Velthari did not build ships the way humans did. Their technology was based on crystals and energy fields, not wires and circuits. The power system was not a reactor. It was a living thing, a network of crystals that grew and changed and responded to commands. The navigation system did not use computers. It used patterns of light that shifted and moved like thoughts. It was beautiful. It was alien. And it was broken. Megan fixed it anyway. She replaced the dead crystals with new ones she grew herself, using instructions she found in old Velthari texts. She repaired the energy conduits with materials she bought from traders who did not ask questions. She patched the hull with salvaged plating, and she rebuilt the engines from scratch. Danny came by every few days to check on her. He brought food when she forgot to eat. He brought blankets when she fell asleep in the cockpit. He told her she was working too hard, and she told him to stop worrying. "What are you going to call it?" he asked one night, looking at the ship. It was starting to look less like a wreck and more like a vessel. The hull was clean now. The lights inside glowed softly. Megan thought about it. "The Drifter," she said, "because that is what it has been doing for years. Drifting. Waiting for someone to find it." Danny smiled. "That is a good name." On the night she finally finished, Megan sat in the cockpit and placed her hands on the controls. Her heart was beating fast. 3 months of work had led to this moment. Either the ship would fly, or it would not. Either she had succeeded, or she had wasted everything she had. She pressed the ignition. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship came alive. The lights turned on, bright and warm. The engines hummed with a sound she had never 6 weeks past, and Megan learned to fly the Drifter like she had been born on it. The ship was fast, faster than anything she had ever piloted before. It moved through space like water flowing downhill, smooth and easy and natural. The controls responded to her touch before she even finished the thought. Sometimes she wondered if the ship could read her mind. She took small jobs at first. Cargo runs to the outer colonies, passenger transport for people who did not want to ask questions. Nothing dangerous, nothing illegal, just honest work that paid the bills. She saved her credits and upgraded her equipment. She bought better food. She even sent money to Danny, who was still back on Kepler Station, still worrying about her. Life was good, better than it had been in years. Then the Velthari came. Megan was docked at Orion Waypoint, a busy trading station at the edge of human space. She had just finished a cargo run and was refueling the Drifter for the next job. The station was crowded with ships from a dozen different species. Humans, Korvathi, Mendari, even a few races she did not recognize. It was the kind of place where everyone minded their own business. That changed when the Velthari ship arrived. It dropped out of hyperspace without warning. One moment the sky was empty, and the next moment there was a vessel the size of a small moon hanging in the darkness. It was made of crystal, or something that looked like crystal. It caught the light of distant stars and scattered it in 1,000 directions, like a diamond floating in the void. Megan had never seen anything so beautiful, or so terrifying. The station went quiet. All traffic stopped. Every ship held its position, waiting to see what would happen next. The Velthari did not come to human space often. When they did, it was never good news. A transport pod detached from the crystal ship and flew toward the station. Megan watched it from her cockpit window, her hands gripping the controls. She had a bad feeling about this, a very bad feeling. The feeling got worse when the pod landed on her ship. There was a sound like wind blowing through leaves, and then something appeared in her cockpit. Not walked in, not climbed through a hatch, just appeared, like it had been there all along and she had only just noticed it. It was a Velthari. Megan had seen pictures, but pictures did not prepare her for the real thing. The being was 8 feet tall, with skin that looked like polished black stone. Its eyes glowed amber, soft and warm like candlelight. It had no hair, no ears, no features she could recognize as familiar. It was alien in every sense of the word, and it was looking at her ship like it owned it. "I am HFY," the alien said. Its voice was strange. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, like an echo in a cave. "That vessel belongs to my bloodline. You will return it." Megan stood up slowly. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "I bought this ship at a legal auction. I have the paperwork. It is mine." "Your paperwork means nothing," HFY replied. "That ship was never meant to be sold. It was never meant to leave Velthari space. It carries something sacred, something that belongs to my family." "What are you talking about?" The alien moved closer. It did not walk. It seemed to glide, like a shadow sliding across the floor. "The Velthari do not die as you do, human. When our bodies grow old, when our time in the physical world ends, we transfer our consciousness into sacred vessels. Our minds, our memories, our very souls are preserved in ships like this one." Megan felt cold. "You are saying there is someone inside my ship?" "My great-grandmother," HFY said. "Selith Vora. She was a warrior, a leader, a hero to our people. When her body failed, she chose to rest within this vessel. She was supposed to sleep until we came back for her. But the war happened. Our people were scattered. We lost track of many things, including her." Megan looked around the cockpit. The lights flickered softly like they always did. The console hummed with its quiet heartbeat. She had thought those things were just quirks of alien technology. She had never imagined they might be signs of something alive. "I did not know," she said quietly. "That does not matter," HFY replied. "You have been flying her for weeks. You have been using her like a common transport ship. You have treated her like property, and now you will surrender her to me." "And if I do not?" The alien's eyes flared brighter. "Then I will take her by force. The Velthari Accords give us the right to reclaim our dead, no matter where they are found. Your Galactic Council will not stop us. Your station commander will not stop us. No one will stop us." Megan thought about running. The drifter was fast. Maybe she could get away before the Velthari ship caught her. Maybe she could hide somewhere in the outer reaches, somewhere they would never find her. But she did not run. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked the alien in the eye. "I am not giving you my ship." HFY tilted its head. "You would defy us? For a vessel you bought for 50 credits? I did not just buy her. I fixed her. I spent 3 months bringing her back to life when everyone said it could not be done. I flew her when no one else would. She is not just a ship to me. She is my home." "She is not yours," the alien said coldly. "She never was. She belongs to the Velthari. She belongs to my family, and you are nothing but a thief who does not know what she has stolen." The word hit Megan like a punch to the stomach. Thief. She had never stolen anything in her life. She had worked hard for everything she had. She had earned the drifter with her own hands, her own sweat, her own tears. "I am not a thief," she said through gritted teeth. "Then prove it. Give her back." The lights in the cockpit flickered again. This time, Megan noticed something different. The pattern was not random. It was like a code, a message she could almost understand. The ship was trying to tell her something. She placed her hand on the console without thinking. The metal was warm under her fingers. Warmer than it should have been. "Stay," something whispered in her mind. "Please stay." Megan's breath caught in her throat. It was not her imagination. The ship was talking to her. The ship or whatever was inside it, did not want to go. She looked at Kethvanar. "Your great-grandmother. Have you asked her what she wants?" The alien paused. For the first time, it seemed uncertain. "She is in sleep mode. She cannot communicate until she is properly reawakened." "Then maybe you should wait until she can," Megan said, "because I do not think she wants to leave." Kethvanar's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing about our ways, human. You know nothing about what she wants. You are making assumptions based on feelings and guesses." "Maybe. But you are making assumptions too. You assume she wants to be with you?" Megan did not sleep that night. She sat in the cockpit of the drifter with all the lights turned low. The station outside was quiet. Most of the other ships had left after the Velthari appeared. Nobody wanted to be around when trouble started. Megan could not blame them. Danny called her 3 times. She did not answer. She did not know what to tell him. That she was about to fight an alien fleet over a ship she had bought for 50 credits? That the ship might have a soul inside it? That she was probably going to lose everything she had worked for? No. She could not say any of those things. Not yet. Instead, she sat in the dark and listened to the drifter hum. The sound had always been there, ever since she first powered up the ship. She had thought it was the engines, or the power system, or some strange feature of Velthari technology. But now she knew the truth. It was not the ship making that sound. It was her. The one inside. Seleth Vora. "Can you hear me?" Megan asked the empty cockpit. Her voice sounded small in the silence. "I know you are in there. I felt you earlier when Kethvanar was here. You spoke to me. You said stay." The lights flickered but did not answer. Megan leaned forward. "I am not giving up. I want you to know that. But I need to understand what is happening. I need to know who you are. I need to know what you want." Still nothing. She closed her eyes and placed both hands on the console. The metal was warm, always warm. She focused on that warmth, let it spread through her fingers, up her arms, into her chest. She had never been spiritual. She had never believed in things she could not see or touch. But right now, she was willing to try anything. "Please," she whispered, "talk to me." The world disappeared. One moment she was sitting in her cockpit on Orion Waypoint. The next moment she was somewhere else entirely. She was standing on a planet she had never seen before, under a sky filled with colors she had no names for. The ground beneath her feet was made of crystal. The air smelled like flowers and rain. And there was someone standing in front of her. It was a Velthari, but not like Kethvanar. This one was female, with smoother features and eyes that glowed a deeper amber. She was tall and proud, dressed in armor that seemed to be made of light itself. She looked like a warrior. She looked like a queen. "You asked to see me," the Velthari said. Her voice was different now, not echoing like before, but clear and strong. "So here I am." Megan tried to speak, but no words came out. She was too amazed, too overwhelmed by what she was seeing. This was not a dream. This was real, somehow. She was standing inside a memory, a vision, a piece of someone else's mind. "My name is Seleth Vora," the warrior continued. "I know you have questions. I will try to answer them." Megan found her voice. "Where are we?" "This is Velthari Prime, my homeworld, or at least, my memory of it. This is how it looked 1,000 years ago, before the war, before everything changed. It is beautiful." Seleth Vora smiled. It was a sad smile, full of longing. It was. "I do not know what it looks like now. I have been sleeping for so long." "Why did you go to sleep? Why did you put yourself in the ship?" The warrior looked at the sky. The colors shifted and swirled like paint in water. "There was a war. A terrible war against an enemy that wanted to destroy us. They were called the Void Walkers. They came from beyond the edge of the galaxy, from the darkness between stars. They fed on life, on energy, on everything that existed. And they were winning. Megan listened in silence. She had never heard of the Void Walkers. The name was not in any history book she had read. I was a commander, Seleth Vora continued. I led our fleets against them. We fought for years. We won some battles and lost others. But slowly we were being pushed back. Our homeworld was threatened. Our people were dying. And then we found a way to stop them. How? There is a passage between our galaxy and theirs, a place where the barriers are thin. The Void Walkers used it to enter our space. We realized that if we could seal that passage, we could trap them on the other side forever. But someone had to guard it. Someone had to stay behind and make sure it stayed closed. Megan understood. You, Seleth Vora nodded. My body was dying. The war had taken everything from me, but my mind was still strong, so I made a choice. I transferred my consciousness into my ship, and I flew to the passage. I sealed it with my own power, and then I waited. For what? For my people to come back. They promised they would return for me once the war was over. They promised they would wake me up and bring me home. But they never came. The sky above them darkened. The beautiful colors faded into gray. Megan felt the sadness in the air, thick and heavy like fog. I waited for 100 years, Seleth Vora said. Then 200, then 500. I stopped counting after a while. I drifted through space, alone, forgotten. I thought I would drift forever. But I found you, Megan said. Yes, you found me. The warrior turned to look at her, and there were tears in those amber eyes. I felt you the moment you touched my hull. I felt your determination, your stubbornness, your refusal to give up. You worked on me for months when anyone else would have walked away. You brought me back to life. I did not know you were in there. I know, but it does not matter. You saved me, Megan Cole. You gave me something I had lost a long time ago. Hope. The vision shifted. They were no longer on Velthari Prime. They were in space, surrounded by stars. Megan could see the drifter floating in the darkness, its hull gleaming softly. Keth Vanar wants to take you back, Megan said. He says you belong to his family. Seleth Vora made a sound that might have been a laugh. Keth Vanar is my great-great-great-grandson. I do not even remember his grandmother's name. He claims me because of blood, because of tradition, because the Accords say he has the right. But he does not know me. He does not care about me. He only cares about possession. What do you want? What do you really want? The warrior was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. I want what I have always wanted. To be free, to fly among the stars, to have a purpose. To be with someone who sees me as more than a relic or a trophy. She reached out and touched Megan's face. Her hand was warm, surprisingly gentle for a warrior. You see me, Seleth Vora said. You are the first person in 1,000 years who has seen me as I am, not as a sacred vessel, not as a sleeping ancestor, just as a person who has been alone for too long. Megan felt tears on her cheeks. She did not know when she had started crying. I do not want to lose you, but I do not know how to fight a Velthari fleet. Seleth Vora smiled. You will not have to fight alone. I am awake now, truly awake, and I am much stronger than Keth Vanar knows. Strong enough to stop them? That depends. Are you willing to trust me? Are you willing to let me share your mind, your senses, your body? If we work together, we can face anything. But you have to be willing. The 3 days passed faster than Megan expected. She spent most of that time talking to Seleth Vora. They shared memories and stories. Megan told her about Earth, about humanity, about the long journey from a small blue planet to a galaxy full of stars. Seleth Vora told her about the Velthari, about their history, about the war that had nearly destroyed them. They were very different, the human and the ancient warrior. But somehow, that did not matter. They understood each other in ways that went beyond species or language. They were both fighters. They were both survivors. And they were both tired of being alone. On the morning of the third day, Danny finally managed to reach her. "Megan, what is going on?" His face filled the communication screen, pale and worried. "I have been trying to call you for days. There are rumors everywhere. People are saying you stole a Velthari ship. People are saying a fleet is coming to take you down." "The rumors are half right," Megan replied. "I did not steal anything. But yes, a fleet is coming. Then run. Get out of there. The Velthari are not people you want to mess with." "I am not running, Danny." "Why not? What is so special about that ship that you would risk your life for it?" Megan thought about how to explain it. There was no easy way. "The ship is not just a ship. There is someone inside it, a person. She has been alone for 1,000 years, and I am not going to let them take her against her will." Danny stared at her through the screen. His mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. Finally, he just shook his head. "You are insane," he said. "Probably. You are going to get yourself killed." "Maybe. And there is nothing I can say that will change your mind?" Megan smiled. "You have known me for 10 years, Danny. What do you think?" He sighed. It was the sigh of a man who had lost too many arguments to fight anymore. "Fine. Just try not to die, okay? I still owe you money. I will do my best." The communication cut off. Megan turned back to the viewport and saw what she had been expecting. 3 Velthari warships hung in the darkness of space, their crystal hulls catching the light of distant stars. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like frozen thunderstorms waiting to strike. The largest one was Kethvanar's flagship. She recognized its shape from the vessel that had appeared 3 days ago. A signal came through on all channels. Kethvanar's voice echoed across the station. "Megan Cole, your time is up. Surrender the vessel now, or we will take it by force. This is your final warning." The station commander's voice came next. His name was Greg Holloway, a grizzled human with gray hair and tired eyes. "Miss Cole, I am asking you one more time. Please comply with their demands. I cannot protect you if you do not." Megan opened a channel of her own. Her voice was steady, calm, stronger than she felt. "Commander Holloway, I appreciate your concern, but I am not giving up my ship." "Then there is nothing I can do for you. I am sorry." "I know. It is okay." She closed the channel and powered up the drifter's engines. The ship hummed around her, alive and ready. Seleth Vora's presence filled her mind, warm and reassuring. "Are you ready?" the ancient warrior asked. "No," Megan admitted. "But I am doing it anyway." She flew the drifter straight toward the Velthari fleet. It was a crazy move, a suicidal move. Any sane person would have turned and run, but Megan was not running. She was making a statement. She was showing them that she was not afraid, even if she was terrified on the inside. The Velthari ships did not fire. They watched her approach, silent and still. Kethvanar was probably confused. He had expected her to surrender or flee. He had not expected her to fly directly at him. Megan opened a broadcast channel. She made sure it was transmitting on all frequencies to every ship and station in range. This was not just about her and Kethvanar anymore. This was about something bigger. "My name is Megan Cole," she said. 6 weeks ago, I bought a ship at a salvage auction. I spent 3 months fixing it. I flew it across the galaxy. And then a Velthari lord showed up and told me I had to give it back." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Kethvanar claims that this ship belongs to his family. He says it contains the consciousness of his ancestor, Seleth Vora. And he is right. There is a person inside this ship. A warrior who fought to protect her people. a hero who gave up everything to save her galaxy. And for 1,000 years, she waited for her family to come back for her. They never did. The Velthari fleet was still silent. But Megan could feel something shifting, a tension in the air that had nothing to do with weapons or shields. "I am not keeping her against her will," Megan continued. "If she wants to go with Kethvanar, she can. But that is her choice to make, not his. She is not cargo. She is not property. She is a person. And she deserves to decide her own fate." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the drifter's systems surged with power. Light blazed from every window, every panel, every crack in the hull. The ship was glowing like a star, brighter than anything Megan had ever seen. And then Seleth Vora spoke. Her voice came through every speaker on every ship in the fleet. It echoed across the void, strong and clear and impossible to ignore. "Kethvanar, I remember your grandmother. I held her when she was born. I watched her take her first steps. I sang her to sleep when she was frightened of the dark." An image appeared on every screen in the sector. It was Seleth Vora as she had been in life, tall and proud and beautiful. Her eyes glowed with the same amber light as Kethvanar's, but there was something warmer in them, something sadder. "I waited for my people for 1,000 years, she continued. "I guarded the passage between galaxies. I kept the Voidwalkers at bay. I did everything I was asked to do, and more. And what was my reward? Silence, abandonment, being forgotten by everyone I had ever loved." The image shifted. It showed the passage she had guarded, a swirling vortex of darkness at the edge of space. It showed the battles she had fought, alone, against creatures of shadow and hunger. It showed the centuries of isolation, the endless waiting, the slow death of hope. "This human found me when no one else would," Seleth Vora said. "She restored me when I had been left to rot. She listened when I had been ignored for centuries. She saw me as a person when everyone else saw me as a thing." The image turned to face Kethvanar's flagship directly. "You invoke the Accords. You claim me as your property, your birthright. But you do not know me. You never tried to know me. You only want me because I am valuable, because having an ancestor like me brings honor to your name. That is not love. That is not respect. That is greed." Megan felt tears running down her face. She could feel Seleth Vora's emotions through their connection, the pain and anger and grief of 1,000 lonely years. "I choose to stay," Seleth Vora declared. "I choose this human who bought me for 50 credits and gave me something your entire family could not. A home, a purpose, a friend. If you want to take me by force, you can try. But know this, Kethvanar. I am not the sleeping ancestor you remember. I am awake. I am strong. And I will not go quietly." The light around the drifter pulsed once, twice, 3 times. The Velthari ships backed away slightly, their captains clearly unsure of what to do. Kethvanar's voice came through, quieter than before. "Great-grandmother, I did not mean to dishonor you. I was only trying to bring you home." "Home," Seleth Vora repeated. "I do not have a home anymore. The Velthari I knew are gone. The world I loved is gone. Everything I fought for is gone. But this human, this ship, this life we are building together, that is something new, something worth keeping." There was a long silence. "I understand," Kethvanar finally said. "I withdraw my claim. The Accords allow for an ancestor's choice to supersede the family's wishes. You are free to stay where you are." The tension broke. The fleet began to move, turning away from the station, preparing to jump back into hyperspace. Megan let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. "We did it," she whispered. "We did," Seleth Vora agreed. There was a smile in her voice. "Though I think we made quite a scene." Word spread across the galaxy like fire. The story of the human mechanic who had stood against a Velthari lord became legend in spacer bars and trading posts from one end of known space to the other. People talked about Megan Cole the way they talked about heroes from old stories. She was the woman who had bought a ship for 50 credits and discovered a soul inside. She was the woman who had refused to back down, even when the odds were impossible. Megan did not care much about the fame. She had never wanted to be famous. She just wanted to fly her ship and live her life. But the attention brought opportunities she could not ignore. Traders offered her contracts worth more credits than she had ever seen. Scientists wanted to study the drifter and learn its secrets. Politicians wanted her to speak at conferences about human-alien relations. Everyone wanted something from the woman who had faced down a Velthari fleet and won. She turned most of them down. The contracts from shady traders, the invasive studies that would have treated Seleth Vora like a lab specimen, the political speeches that would have turned her into a symbol she did not want to be. She was not interested in any of that. But some opportunities were worth taking. 3 months after the confrontation at Orion Waypoint, Megan got a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted to hire her for a special mission. There was a region of space at the edge of the galaxy that had been unexplored for centuries. Ships that went there did not come back. The Council believed it was connected to the passage Seleth Vora had guarded long ago. They wanted Megan and her ship to investigate. "It is dangerous," the Council representative said, a tall woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. "We will not pretend otherwise. But you are the only ones who might survive. Seleth Vora knows that region better than anyone, and your ship is the only vessel we know of that can navigate those currents." Megan looked at the star charts they had provided. The region was vast and dark, filled with gravitational anomalies and energy storms. It was the kind of place that swallowed ships whole and never gave them back. "What do you think?" she asked Seleth Vora silently. "I think it is time," the ancient warrior replied. "I sealed that passage 1,000 years ago. I should make sure it is still holding, and if it is not, we need to know. It could be dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. Besides, I am curious. I spent so long guarding that place. I never got to see what was on the other side." Megan smiled. "Then I guess we are going." She accepted the mission. The Council was pleased. They gave her supplies, credits, and a crew if she wanted one. She turned down the crew. She did not need anyone else. She had Seleth Vora, and that was enough. But Danny insisted on coming. "You are not going to the edge of the galaxy without me," he said when she told him about the mission. His face was set in the stubborn expression she knew too well. "I have been your friend for 10 years. I am not letting you face this alone. It is dangerous, Danny." "I know. I do not care. You could die. I could die slipping in the shower. At least this way I will die doing something interesting." Megan could not argue with that. And honestly, she was glad to have him along. Seleth Vora was wonderful company, but she was also a 1,000-year-old alien consciousness living inside a spaceship. Sometimes Megan needed someone human to talk to. They left Orion Waypoint on a cold morning in the station's artificial cycle. The drifter slipped out of the docking bay and headed for the darkness between stars. Ahead of them lay the unknown. Behind them lay everything Megan had ever known. She did not look back. The journey took 3 weeks. They passed through sectors of space that no human had visited in generations. They saw wonders that Megan had only dreamed about. Nebulae that glowed with colors she had no names for. Stars that danced around each other in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Planets covered in crystal forests and oceans of liquid light. Seleth Vora guided them through it all. She knew the currents and eddies of this region, the safe paths and the deadly traps. Without her, they would have been lost within the first day. Danny spent most of his time in the cargo bay, which they had converted into a makeshift living space. He read books, played games on his tablet, and complained about the food. But at night, when the stars were brightest, he would come up to the cockpit and sit with Megan in comfortable silence. "I still think you are crazy," he said one evening as they drifted through a field of glowing particles. "You have said that before." "I mean it every time." Megan laughed. "Maybe I am, but crazy people get to see things like this." She gestured at the viewport. Outside, the particles swirled and danced like fireflies in a summer night. It was beautiful beyond words. Danny smiled. "Yeah, I guess they do." They reached the passage on the 21st day. It was not what Megan had expected. She had imagined something dramatic, a swirling vortex of darkness like the images Seleth Vora had shown her. But the passage was almost invisible, just a faint shimmer in the fabric of space, a place where the stars bent slightly wrong. "This is it," Seleth Vora said. Her voice was quiet, almost reverent. "The doorway between galaxies, the place where the Void Walkers came through. Is it still sealed?" "Yes. I can feel my barriers holding. They have weakened over time, but they are still there. The darkness on the other side has not broken through." Megan felt a wave of relief. "So we are safe?" "For now. But the barriers will not last forever. Eventually they will fail. When that happens, someone will need to be ready." "What do you mean?" Seleth Vora was quiet for a moment. "I have been thinking about this since we started this journey. My barriers are old and tired. They need to be renewed. But I cannot do it alone. I need help." "What kind of help?" "I need to teach others what I know. I need to pass on my knowledge to a new generation of guardians. The Velthari are not interested. They have moved on. They have forgotten the danger. But humans are different. You are curious. You are brave. You do not back down from challenges." Megan understood. "You want to train humans to guard the passage?" "Yes. Not just humans. Anyone who is willing to learn, but starting with humans, starting with you." It was a huge responsibility. It was the kind of thing that would change the course of history. Megan was just a mechanic from Kepler Station. She had no business making decisions that affected the fate of galaxies. But she had made bigger decisions before. She had bought a ship for 50 credits. She had faced down a Velthari fleet. She had trusted an ancient consciousness she had only just met. This was just one more leap of faith. "Okay," she said. "Teach me." Seleth Vora laughed, a sound of pure joy. "I knew you would say yes. I knew it from the moment you first touched my hull. You are a warrior, Megan Cole. You just did not know it yet." They stayed at the passage for 3 days. Seleth Vora renewed her barriers, strengthening them with energy drawn from the ship's crystals. She taught Megan the basics of what she knew, the history of the Void Walkers, the science behind the barriers, the techniques for sensing disturbances in the fabric of space. It would take years to learn everything, maybe decades. But they had time. They had a ship that could go anywhere. They had each other. On the 4th day, they turned around and headed back toward civilized space. Danny was relieved. He had been getting bored of staring at the same stretch of empty void. "So what now?" he asked as they jumped to hyperspace. Megan thought about it. "Now we go home, we rest, and then we start building." "Building what?" "A school, a network, something that will last long after we are gone. Seleth Vora guarded that passage alone for 1,000 years. She should not have had to. No one should have to face that kind of darkness alone." Danny nodded slowly. "That sounds like a big project." "It is. But we have to start somewhere." The drifter flew through hyperspace, a small light in the endless dark. Inside, 3 beings from different times and different worlds shared a single purpose. Megan Cole had spent 50 credits on an old spaceship. She had gotten more than she ever imagined possible. She had gotten a friend, a mission, and a future worth fighting for. She placed her hand on the console and felt Seleth Vora's warmth flowing through her. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything." "Thank you," Seleth Vora replied, "for finding me, for believing in me, for giving me a reason to wake up." The ship hummed around them, alive and happy. Outside, the stars stretched on forever, full of mysteries and dangers and wonders waiting to be discovered. Megan smiled and set a course for home. The story was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But that was okay. The best stories always took time to tell, and this one was going to be worth telling. Was it too much? Not at all. Sometimes you need to make a scene to be heard. The Velthari fleet vanished into the darkness, leaving Megan alone with her ship and her ancient companion. The station around them slowly came back to life, ships resuming their routes, traders returning to their business. Megan sat back in her chair and laughed. It was a tired laugh, a relieved laugh, the laugh of someone who had stared down an impossible situation and somehow survived. "So," she said aloud, "what do we do now?" Seleth Vora's presence wrapped around her like a warm blanket. "Now we live, we explore, we find new adventures. We show this galaxy what a human and a Velthari can do together." Megan smiled. "That sounds perfect." She powered up the engines and set a course for the stars. Megan did not hesitate. "Yes, whatever it takes." The vision faded. The crystal planet disappeared. The stars vanished. And then Megan was back in her cockpit, sitting in her chair with her hands on the console. But something was different. She could feel Seleth Vora now, not as a distant presence, but as a companion, a partner, a friend. The warrior was with her, inside her, around her. They were connected in a way that Megan could not describe. The lights in the cockpit glowed bright and warm. The engines hummed louder than before. The ship felt more alive than it had ever been. "Together," Seleth Vora said, and this time her voice was clear in Megan's mind. "Together," Megan agreed. She looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kethvanar was gathering his fleet. Somewhere out there, a battle was coming. But for the first time since this all started, Megan was not afraid. She had 50 credits, an old spaceship, and a 1,000-year-old warrior queen on her side. That seemed like enough. Est, because you share blood. But blood is not everything. She was alone for 1,000 years. You left her alone, and I found her. The alien was silent for a long moment. The air in the cockpit felt heavy, like a storm was about to break. "You have 3 days," Kethvanar finally said. 3 days to reconsider. After that, I will return with a fleet, and I will take what is mine." The alien vanished the same way it had appeared, like smoke dissolving in the wind. Megan was alone again, standing in her cockpit with her hand on the console and her heart beating fast. 3 days. That was not much time. That was barely any time at all. She looked at the lights flickering around her. "I do not know if you can hear me," she said quietly, "but I am not going to let them take you, not without a fight." The lights pulsed once, warm and bright, like a thank you. Megan smiled despite everything. "Okay then, let us figure this out together." R heard before. It was deep and steady, like a heartbeat. The console in front of her lit up with symbols she could not read, but somehow she understood them. The ship was asking her a question. "Where do you want to go?" Megan laughed. She could not help it. Tears ran down her face, and she did not wipe them away. "Anywhere," she whispered. "Everywhere." The drifter hummed in response, and for the first time in her life, Megan Cole felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She did not know that across the galaxy, something ancient had felt the ship wake up. She did not know that her life was about to change in ways she could not imagine. She did not know that the drifter was more than just a ship, but she would find out soon enough.